Has anyone with severely low self-esteem ever managed to overcome it? What happened? Yes. And you're going to receive a lot of quick tips here, but honestly, it takes years. People with low self-esteem have a few things. They have a low level of assertiveness in their personality, a few beliefs about themselves, and a few beliefs about how the world is or should be, and some automatic reactions they have built up. Developing higher self-esteem requires a lot of work. You have to fundamentally change the way you see yourself and how you understand the dynamics of the world around you. You have to practice building assertiveness, which requires you to go through a lot of discomfort. And you have to learn to recognize and overrule the automatic reactions and thoughts that cause you to act in ways that further entrench your low self-esteem. Don't look at the comments here for quick advice. Read books on cognitive behavioral therapy or acceptance commitment therapy. The confidence gap is one that I particularly enjoyed, but there are plenty. Try to avoid any that are a little bit overly self-helpy and be ready for at least a few months of difficult work. Original poster replies. Thank you. I've always been wary of people who act like the problem can be fixed overnight. I second the above comment. I had so much anxiety, shame, and self-loathing that I was suicidal constantly and never dated until I was 27. It took years of therapy, a lot of work, pushing myself into really uncomfortable situations socially and professionally, and finally a pretty traumatic experience that tore me apart but allowed me to build myself up from rock bottom with a therapist. Now I still struggle with depression, but I like myself, think I'm a decent person, and have self-compassion and boundaries. My case was quite extreme, but yeah, it takes a lot of work. But it is doable. Absolutely. Go to therapy. Do the work. Embrace discomfort. Push yourself to do things you think are impossible. Keep going no matter how much you want to stop. Practice self-compassion and forgiveness when you relapse and just keep going. I second both CBT and ACT therapy. As far as books go, I recommend it. Train Your Mind, Change Your Brain. It is not a self-help book, but a collection of studies on neuroplasticity in adults. Essentially, it presents empirical evidence that you absolutely can rewire your brain if you out in consistent daily work. It helped me a lot in seeing my brain as an ally rather than an enemy. It's an amazing tool that will get naturally better if you use it properly. But also worse if you abuse it. It will adapt to whatever input you provide. That is empowering. Also, honestly, mushrooms have helped at times to see past some particularly difficult mental blocks. Oh, and a crap ton of exercise. Edit, someone below mentioned it and I realized I completely forgot to mention meditation. I think guided meditation, from ACT and mindfulness therapy, was essential to change my perspective on identify and my daily internal narrative. As someone who is experiencing something pretty traumatic with my current which could have been avoided if we had bit more confidence and self-esteem, and are also pretty much building back up from rock bottom, I appreciate your honesty and openness. It takes a lot of courage to do all of that and face some of those hard truths right in the face. I've been listening to a lot of Brené Brown. She's so contagious but also has a lot of great insights on how to be vulnerable. Thank you for the recommendation. Wishing you the best. It is a painful process, admittedly, but one that is ultimately much better for both parties. Did you take the mushrooms at your peak low or when you were trending up? I'm at the lowest point of my life and scared the mushrooms will make things worse. They are nothing by themselves in my experience. I took them during a time I was in therapy and also pushing myself hard to be social. They helped me shed my self-consciousness and anxiety temporary in a way I didn't know was possible, so I had a more tangible goal to aim for through future work. Up until that point, I hadn't realized living without crippling anxiety was even a possible state of mind. But yes, if you are in a dark place and not actively working with a therapist and making progress, I would very much caution against them. They can amplify any state you are in, and bad trips are seriously not a fun time. You need to be in a good space with good support. This is just my opinion based on my experience. This is fantastic advice. I had similar positive effects from the handful of times I took mushrooms or low doses of LSD. It could be best described as peeling back the layers of my onion until I reached who I was at my very core. It helped me see myself as who I truly wanted to be and change my attitude for the better. I've never done psychedelics for therapy, but I've done a lot of psychedelics and learned a lot with their help, and I wouldn't recommend doing them in a really bad mental state. You want to be comfortable, willing to examine yourself, not unhappy and not unstable at the time you take them. Set and setting is crucial. Psychedelics amplify what's already there, and not too much more in my personal experience. I'd say try get to a state that you feel like you'll be able to handle the rigorous examination of own inner workings. If possible, have someone you trust fully come and check on you. I hope you feel better soon. I wouldn't do mushrooms in that state if I were you. It could make you feel a lot of things you don't want to feel. Agreed, can be dangerous especially if taken in the wrong situations. I used to smoke a lot of weed in my younger days socially and never had a bad high. After a pretty traumatic event involving some heavier drugs, I can no longer smoke weed in public or socially, instant panic attacks and extreme social anxiety. Probably due to association with the past. Whys. I grew up with really low self-esteem and it took basically all of my 20s to come out of it fully. Even now at 32, it likes to creep in, but my God, nothing at all like before. For me, learning and practicing mindfulness meditation was an incredibly helpful tool. There's a common misconception that meditation is just quieting the mind or trying to zone or bliss out. Anyone who's spent time meditating will know that it's not possible to completely quiet the mind. It's learning about yourself ultimately. When done correctly, it can rewire the brain, giving you the reins of your own mind. It's not a quick fix though. You've got to put the time in and practice compassion for yourself. I teach a free mindfulness meditation class over Zoom every week. If anyone here is interested, just PM me. I'm happy to answer questions too. I've been practicing for 8 years and I'm a certified instructor. I couldn't agree more with you. I had forgotten to mention meditation. I also found that key in rewiring my perspective of day-to-day experience. Anyone who's spent time meditating will know that it's not possible to completely quiet the mind. To my understanding, it's less quieting the mind and more dispassionately observing it. Just responding to your own thoughts and feelings with the internal equivalent of a polite nod and nothing more. Is that more like it? The thing is that it's usually a progression of months or years, but suddenly everything just clicks. That's why most people say overnight, but in reality it's lots of work. It's loving yourself, learning to be comfortable in your own skin. You can't be anyone else, so why try? Just be yourself and own it. Life is way too short for anything else. It took me getting severely hurt and ending a relationship when I realized I was better than that and didn't deserve it. Then it's a slow process, but it's 100% doable, my friend. I wish you the best of luck on your endeavors. This any overnight fix is far more likely to be a result of addressing the problem over a much longer period of time. I went from having self-esteem issues from grade 5 until year 9 or 10 due to a family breakdown, changing schools, being picked on because I was a year younger than everyone else was and worrying what other kids thought of me, then arrived at school one day and just stopped caring about the people who picked on me thought. This resulted in me responding completely differently when they picked on me, which resulted in a major boost in self-esteem. I realized that not everyone has it as easy as I did, especially people who are still struggling with these issues in adulthood, but the overnight fix rarely, if ever, occurs overnight. A few recommendations if you've experienced particular types of abuse, then some general stuff that will definitely apply regardless. If you've suffered from narcissistic abuse, you should definitely watch Dr. Ramani's video on A-Down on YouTube and literally all of her narcissism healing stuff. If you have suffered traumas, I can't recommend EMDR enough. You go through bad memories again, but with a new narrative and seeing that you can take care of yourself. Very healing. Watch the TED Talk Own Your Face. Do kindness monologues in the mirror. View every mistake as a tool in your tool belt that is making you stronger. If something negative pops in your head, negate it with something very kind. Try to have the outside match up with the inside as much as possible, what's within versus what you show to the world. Give yourself the advice you'd give a friend. Also, treat yourself kind and as you would a friend generally. Don't let your perception of yourself dictate what you think you are allowed to be interested in. Go for it and shoot for the stars. Those are the things that have been most helpful to me in the past 5 years. That and having supportive, non-toxic people surrounding me and not engaging in toxic behavior with toxic people ever. I've been intensely working on myself and constantly reminding myself my attitude is the only thing I can control. I am so unbelievably happy and I feel so free and grateful. Grateful for the mistakes and the victories and so proud to be whom I am today. I am miles from the husk of a person I felt like 5 years ago. Stand tall and don't be afraid to practice things like charisma and asserting yourself. Practice makes perfect with anything. So much love and so proud of you. Keep it up. Just be more confident. I am extremely shy. I want to be like the people who have that natural self-confidence and assertiveness, not the rude kind. They are very clear about what they say, they can articulate it easily. They are not afraid if you will disagree with them or even if you insult them. It's hard to say if it's something they consciously practice or it's just a part of their personality. But I wish I had that kind of presence of mind. I struggle to get my thoughts into words and I often replay a conversation in my head and think I should have said things differently. In fact, the reason I'm on Reddit is I'm trying to build confidence to speak to people. And find myself typing my responses and erasing my posts before posting. Even now, I am correcting this post and still not completely satisfied with posting. I'm just afraid of what everyone will think and judge me for it. I judge your post well organized, generally put together, and effective at describing a familiar feeling. Thanks. Means a lot. That's because truly confident people don't need assurance or ego building from other people. They are able to feel valued and worthy without external input. I don't know how to fix that, but getting older helps with being less shy in my experience. Being worn down by buttholes gets me to a point where less F's are given. Being worn down by buttholes gets me to a point where less F's are given. I was an extremely shy, anxious teenager. In high school, I tried to make myself as small as possible and rarely spoke. In college, I accidentally applied for a serving job, which I never thought I would be brave enough to do but was too awkward to explain that I applied for the wrong position, so I just went for it. I was a nervous wreck for the first few months, but because of this constant exposure to people, I quickly learned that many people are buttholes and they are often wrong, so I stopped caring about their opinions of me. Working customer-facing jobs absolutely changed who I am, made me stop giving any F's lol. Any other books you recommend? Best book I've read in my life, and I'm in the hundreds, is Maybe You Should Talk to Someone by Lori Gottlieb. It's one of the very few which is truly life-changing. This book was hands down my best read last year. This book and the Midnight Library carried me through the crap show that was 2020. Best book I've read in my life, and I'm in the hundreds, is Maybe You Should Talk to Someone by Lori Gottlieb. It's one of the very few which is truly life-changing. What did you find good from it? My therapist's been having me work through the second edition of the Self-Esteem Workbook by Glenn Scaraldi. I've been making some decent progress and there's a lot of parts that have resonated with me so far. I literally have a huge Google Doc folder filled with PDFs of books I've enjoyed or that helped me. Message me for the link if you want. Anyone's welcome to. This is true. I am still in the process of raising my self-esteem and it takes a lot of time and discomfort. I am disfigured and disabled, fire at 2 years old, so that affects the way I think others see me and it's really hard to talk to new people. I am a completely different person when I am around friends and family, so I am trying to expand my bubble out. Going viral on Twitter helped inject a steroid of confidence to the point that I started to share my life and pictures of me a bit more on social media. Through that I have made a few new friends. I also jumped into the dating scene, mixed bag with little success so far, but before my relationships would be with people I already knew, so this a whole new world for me. Thank you for your comment, seems the most real. I've benefited from CBT in the past but am struggling really hard this last year again. Just bought that book and looking forward to reading it on your recommendation. This made my week actually. I really hope it works for you, but if it isn't your style, don't give up on finding one that does. I realize that low self-esteem is caused by something, upbringing, people, etc., and therefore it can be undone. It doesn't have to be a permanent fixture of what you are, and most likely, it's a delusion. So for me, I just had to retrain my brain over a couple of years, replace the negative thoughts with positive ones, stop criticizing myself, focus more on the accomplishments and not the failures, stop assuming I'm a mind reader and know what people are thinking about me. You can definitely overcome low self-esteem. It is really important to remind people of this, that your self-esteem is mutable and you'll likely have to work on it off and on your whole life, but you can change. I realized that no one knew me, so I could be whomever I wanted. I decided to be someone I liked. People still hate me, but I like myself now. Very relatable. Like I usually say, no matter how hard I tried, I could never be what people wanted me to be. So I became who I wanted to be. If nobody else will ever quite like me, I guess I'm just going to have to do it myself. This sounds like wise advice. I might be at my mid-life crisis point now, but I'm going to embrace this thought moving forward. Thank you. Holy crap. Came here to say this and that no one likes me still, but I'm happy as F. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.